Good afternoon, everyone. Thanks for joining us today. We might just wait a moment just while everyone's Zoom apps on their different laptops catch up with the process beginning. With that, yeah, thanks for joining us today, everybody. Welcome to the NWR Security Tech Virtual Investor Conference. On the call today, we've got ARCTIS Managing Director Daniel Lai. So I'll pass you across in a moment to Daniel to kick off our discussion of ARCTIS. We'll have a presentation from Daniel, followed by an opportunity for Q&A. If you'd like to ask a question during the call, please type it into the Q&A panel in the Zoom app. So to kick things off, I will hand over now to ARCTIS Managing Director Daniel Lai. Go on ahead, Daniel.
Thank you very much for having me, Tim, and I appreciate the opportunity. Thank you to those interested parties who are joining the Zoom call. I hope everyone's well. Look, just quickly, a little bit about ARCTIS. We're an award-winning company. ARCTIS stands for Architected Trusted Information Sharing, and our motto there is trusted to safeguard the world's most sensitive information. Hopefully, by the time we finish this, you'll understand why, and that it's not an ambition, that we're actually doing that today. So ARCTIS, our vision, we really focused on resolving a global problem, and that's the need to securely share and collaborate on sensitive and classified information, which is a very specific niche in the market. We do this already with clients such as the Australian Department of Defence and Defence Primes. You'll understand a little bit more about that. But what's driving all of this is it's all about trust. With the pressures of the geopolitical conflicts going on in the world with Ukraine, Israel, the rise of China in the Pacific, the formation of new alliances to counter that aggressive growth, we are in a different era at the moment where the rule of law internationally is being challenged. What we have seen as a result of that is a massive increase in defence spending, a lot more focus on defence investment, and a lot more focus on securing alliances and defence supply chain and protecting intellectual property. So when that happens, trust becomes a critically important thing. So David Hurley said once that it's trust, not technology, that's the greatest obstacle to sharing information. And we thought that's a very good problem to solve in the marketplace, and that we've been focused on that now for a number of years and are leading the world in it. We are an information security company, and what we are focused on is data-centric security. That's very important to note, because data-centric security is a component of the overall cybersecurity market, but it's information. It's about how do I access that information, who can access it, where they can access it, what they can do with it under different contextual circumstances. If I'm sitting at the McDonald's versus whether I'm sitting in a classified certified SCIF in the Department of Defence or on an airbase or in an army barracks, or depending upon what that is and where that is. And obviously this has large connotations for industry as well. So just a quick overview: proven team, global marquee customers and alliances, led by myself. Obviously, I've had lots of experience in and out of law enforcement and intelligence agencies and running businesses. But Kurt Muffelman, who's the US president as well, and our global coup. And we've recently been joined by Andrew Burns, who was the CFO of the Citadel Group Success and built that up to a $500 million company and IPO. So we've validated award-winning technologies that are military grade. They're trusted already at the top secret level by the Australian Department of Defence as our premier client, but at all sorts of other levels of classification as well. And we've won a number of awards, which you saw on the preview of the first one, which was the Australian Cyber Business of the Year in 2022, 2023, and we're a finalist this year again as well. So hopefully we'll get a trifecta there. We're in the right time at the right place. All of those geopolitical situations forcing expenditure to rise in the defence space, forcing things like AUKUS expenditure. And for all of those alliances to be successful, they need to exchange and share information, not only at the strategic level about how they're going to do it, what their policies are, what their plans are, but at the operational level. So how are we sharing this intellectual property to build better warfighters, capabilities such as missiles, Navy, ships, air warfighter destroyers, tanks, guns, across that entire supply chain. And that, of course, drives network growth effect of meeting those compliance requirements and sharing that information across that supply chain industry. And that's really where we are focused. So data-centric security expected to be about a $40 billion market by 2030. For us, they're our goals. You know, we want to be the preferred platform for sharing classified information across government, defence, and the defence supply chain globally. We are there to be the premier provider of policy-enforced access management products to the global defence market and the thought leader in data-centric security, and lead that charge. And you know, something that we're very proud of. We're already consulting to NATO. We're doing things in the Australian Department of Defence. We've got engagement now with a couple of other overseas defence agencies as well, and we are already the platform of choice in Australia for the for the Australian defence supply chain marketplace. A Q3 results, obviously a bit sensitive about the Q4 and the end of year because it hasn't been released yet, but as you can see, we've had strong growth. $27.5 million market cap, 280 million shares out there. Management and top 50 shareholder do have good control of that, and we have a number of institutional investors. But we have had strong growth over the last 2 years as well. We want to see that accelerate over the next 18 months, and we're confident of that. What is the challenge that these people are doing? Well, we all know about cyber threats and the intellectual property theft, and that state nation actors have the ability to penetrate the network. The network is now considered compromised. And that means that what are we protecting? We've got to protect our most valuable asset, which is our data. And that picture just tells a massive story. The ability for China to catch up and emulate competitive warfighter capability is massive if you can access the data and steal the plans. And that's, you know, that is particularly one of those cases where Lockheed Martin was breached, and all of a sudden you're seeing a plane flying around which looks very similar to an F-35 Joint Strike Fighter. So there's a lot at stake. So these are the customers' challenges that we sort of address in the marketplace. The ability to share and collaborate on sensitive and classified information, which is imperative to the coalition for it to succeed. Speed up information decisions from battlefield to strategic command, and how do I integrate all of that data? And that's why we've been associated in defence with the 1DDP program, the One Data Defence program, because we're the architecting how they secure and integrate and aggregate, disseminate that information securely. Not everyone in the coalition is trusted equally. There are, you know, Japan has joined AUKUS, but they're not a Five Eyes partner, and they're certainly, you know, the US treats all of those partners differently in terms of what they're going to share with them. And so if we can't standardize how we place trust in the assurance of how we're going to share information, it just doesn't happen. And data needs to move now outside of the network to be shared for it to be productive. And this isn't just a defense problem, it's an industry 4.0 problem globally. So, you know, for us, we're very focused on that defense market, but we see the opportunities in the future to spread out across that manufacturing industry as well. As we discussed before, it is a large market. Data-centric security is a component of that cybersecurity spend. We think we can target a $250 million share in that ARCTIS capture just in the next sort of 18 in the period of the life cycle of the business. We are early stage. We are a first mover advantage. We are one of the only companies of a handful of companies doing this. But out of that handful of companies, we are one of the only companies that has been successful in the defense space. What's the secret sauce of what we're doing? Well, data-centric security is really about zero trust. And you probably have heard that phrase thrown around the marketplace. We've been doing zero trust architectures now for over 12 years in the Australian Department of Defence at the highest levels. We've commercialized that technology and brought it out. The first product that we've done there is Cogency, and I'll talk a little bit about that later. But the secret sauce of being able to do this is policy enforced attribute-based access control. And that means I can take an attribute about an individual, the location, the network, and I can apply multiple different policies to the data for access. And that means I can do risk-based or contextualized access. It's not just about access. You know, you can do it with encryption, you can do it under context, you could do it for data treatment. So instead of, if I access something from the McDonald's, I might get it as a secure reader. I can't print it, I can't take a photo of it, I've got watermarks on it, I can't download it. But if I then go to the head office, I'll see a different view of that. I might be able to edit that information. I might see high classified information. If I get onto a plane and land in a foreign airport, I might not be able to see the information at all. I'm going to turn up at a subsidiary office or a new defence site overseas. I, again, might have a view where information that's only available in Australian territory can't be seen. So it's contextualized. It's not, I don't do anything to change those views. It does it automatically, and that's very powerful. How do we do that? We provide access control, security governance, and policies in an intermediary way, which intercepts that information from the source, treats it, and then expands it out. And that opens up to us the information and data markets as well, globally. So the three key products that we have in the market today, NC Protect, which is a toolbox for building those out of the Microsoft products and application suites. It's really about discovering that information, classifying that information, and enforcing that information. And obviously, Microsoft is a key partner of ours. We're a part of the Microsoft Information Security Association, which is an invitation only. We are their designated ABAC partner for defence industry globally. And obviously, we have co-sell arrangements in there with Microsoft. So Microsoft is the premier provider of collaboration tools globally in the defence and defence industry space, and globally, anyway, for collaboration just in the commercial space. Cogency is a fully engineered platform that we designed for our ARchTIS sharing of information. We brought it out, we commercialized it. It's a SaaS platform per user per head, and it is a fully engineered. So I don't need to do anything. I just pay up front, license it, I log on, and I can start to share and compartmentalize information. It's particularly important for securing intellectual property, which I have to share across different companies that sometimes I'm working with and sometimes I'm competing against. And that's really, really important. And there's a huge drive to uplift supply chain cyberworthiness in the industry today, and it's being driven by AUKUS and the arrangements that need to be put into place to share that information to uplift defence capability. Again, we know most of those two products do unstructured data, documents, files, file shares, but we also now have a platform called TDI, Trusted Data Integration, which does that for structured data. So big data analytics, how do I source data from multiple companies, aggregate that, and then disseminate it on a need-to-know basis, which is, a very, very powerful tool, and we've got great hopes for that product in the marketplace as well. Existing client bases for those products, as you can see, there are large primes, large companies that are trusting our products to secure their classified information already. Validation of our products. How do I know this stuff works? We've already sold 13 million to date into the Australian Department of Defence. They are a use case that they are referenceable in the global marketplace, they are a very happy customer. I could like to talk more about that, but I just can't at the moment. Industry validation as well about the need for this capability. Head of CASG, who's in charge of billions of dollars of acquisition and expenditure in the Australian Department of Defence, has already announced that he's looking to build an industry collaboration platform for sharing information across defence and defence industry just in Australia. And we're seeing these announcements come out more broadly in other markets as well. Obviously, that's a great opportunity for us in the marketplace. We see a couple of re-rate opportunities for us in the marketplace. We think we're very cheap at the moment and undervalued. And the real question for us is how far are you, that I get asked constantly, how far are you away from the J curve? Well, we think we're pretty close. So today we obviously are targeting to be cash flow positive. We need to prove to the market that we're a sustainable company and that we're not out there going to raise capital just for working and operations. We're not interested in that. We want to be able to fund our own way for that. That stops dilution, but it also means that you can turn that into profitability very rapidly. But also we want to make sure that we own a sustainable revenue base to expand from. And that means we need to make sure that we win a defence enterprise account licensing. Now, the Australian Department of Defence is a huge organisation. There are multiple enterprise license opportunities within there. There isn't just one for the whole of defence. That's not how it works. You usually win a division and then another division and then another division, and that's what we are. So there's multiple opportunities for enterprise licenses before you go to a whole of defence license. And of course, they're multi-million dollar opportunities. And last but not least, we need to prove that we've got a global market and global reach, and we can be successful in that global market. And so for us, that other re-rated opportunities that closed in excess of $1 million opportunity in another defence agency or defence supply chain partner. And we think we're very close to those sort of three goals. We had hoped to be announcing all of those things by the 30th of June, but unfortunately we aren't in control of the time of the closing of those things. The defence clients are. So moving on. Why invest in us now? Well, critically, as I said, I think that it's a massive opportunity. It's a problem that must be solved. We are leading the world in it. We're very confident the work that we've done and the groundwork that we've done up to this point is going to pay dividends. We think that we can get this company up to a 5 times, 8 times increase in market cap over the next 24 to 36 months. We think that right now the price is absolute steal and it's great value, but we're going to do that through services and also licenses with repeatable ARR growth. Now, if we can execute what the opportunities that we have in the marketplace today, that's what we are putting out to the market that we think we should be able to achieve. Our innovation, we're going to continue to innovate our technology and our products, and we think that the market tailwinds are going to continue and only get more stronger over the next couple of years, heading towards 2027. Why 2027? Well, to be quite blunt, 2027 is a date that's been thrown around where people believe that there may be a major world event, and that world event that people are concerned about is obviously the Chinese aggression in Taiwan. Taiwan's a critical important asset. Why? Because NVIDIA chip factory over there is one of a kind in the world, and obviously technology advantage and competitive advantage is critical not only for global markets but also for military competitive advantage. So we don't see this slowing down. We only see this increasing, and we think we're in the right place at the right time. So that's what we think is our. And I'll head over to Q&A. That's a lot of information. I'm sorry if I drowned you, but I could talk about it in a lot more detail in a lot many aspects. So, but probably best to get to some questions.
Yeah, no, that's great, Daniel. So I really appreciate the quick tour of the business, and it's clear that ARCTIS is really well placed into whatever might come to pass in the geopolitical sense between now and 2027. So really appreciate everyone's questions that have come in from investors on the call. So let's dive straight in. We've had one investor just asking about sort of what we should expect in terms of the timing of new contracts and news flow more broadly. Is that sort of something that you can give people a steer on over the next months? And
yeah, look, we're not out there announcing every deal that we win or anything like that. We are trying to sort of pace these the announcements in with our quarterly cycles at the moment. And that's just, look, to be honest, we're still a small company. We're still very dedicated and focused on execution. and for us in particular, we don't want to get distracted from that execution. Now, I know that that's relating back to the share price question. How do we drive an uplift share price? The only way we're going to uplift is through some significant deals. We don't want to focus on $50,000 deals. We're out there focusing on multi-million-dollar deals. That's where we're going to get that growth. But if we win those key components, we're going to see a massive network growth effect, and that's where we think the dividend is going to come. In timing of that, as I mentioned previously, my job in this company is to make sure we've got the right products in the marketplace at the right time with the right demand. What I don't control is the customer signing the contract. But if I'm the one that's there when they need to come to market for that or win that or have a need for that, I need to be the one that stands out. Now, we don't have that many competitors in our place, and that's what I've done with the company. So I think that I can't answer the timing. I have just said that in the next 18 to 36 months, I know that in that time frame, something's going to happen that's going to change the fortunes of this company, and you either get in early or you get in late. That's an investor decision.
Absolutely. No, there's lots to look forward to. So just on a related note, another investor's just asking if you've got any update regarding the POCs that had been indicated for early calendar year 24. Is that something you can touch on?
Well, I think I just I've answered that question in the same time frame. Across the next 12 to 18 months, we believe we'll have converted a number of those POCs in giving those re-rate opportunities. I think you can read between the lines there.
Yeah, of course. Good stuff. You mentioned just then that you feel that you don't have many competitors in the market. Investors is asking if you can point out who the major competitors are in this space, particularly in the US, whether you sort of rub up against them or not.
Yeah, look, funnily, we did have a couple of competitors which we were rubbing up against. Next Labs was one of those. Axiomatics is another one of those. We don't tend to come across them very often, which is interesting. And I guess that's because where those competitors probably don't have that sort of Microsoft support. So when we get brought in by Microsoft to solve some of their problems because they've got an existing account. Now, Microsoft obviously has to sell on consumption basis and their own licenses. And because we have that co-sell agreement with them, and we fit in and we don't disturb their ecosystem or the way that their products work, which other products do, we are their preferred supplier. And I think the other reason is because Australia is ahead. Most people won't know this, but from a technological perspective, Australia is ahead of the US in some ways, and the UK, because we can't throw a lot of bodies at these problems, so we have to solve them in a smarter way, and we use technology to solve it. And so we get often we're introduced through trusted references.
Yep, makes sense. That's good. And with regard to coalition deals, can you mention any of the products or services that are being discussed there?
Well, we obviously have been announcing over the last 12 months a number of initiatives with one DTP program in the Australian Department of Defence through KPMG. That's going to continue, and obviously it moves into a support contract later in or early 2025, but it will continue to innovate. I think there's obviously good services there. Attorney General's Department as well. We've got initiatives in there for services growth. We already have the platform in. A couple of years ago, we did a significant deal with the Australian Department of Defence for licensing and implementation of the platform for Codency on site. That's up for renewal, so we expect that to continue to grow. We had done a previous POC with BAE in early December last year. We expect to see future growth in that contract as well. So we have a number of initiatives already underway in terms of our pipeline for future growth, and a number of POCs, which, as I said, we have completed successfully, but are waiting for them to convert. These are large organisations. They are significant organisations. They don't do things necessarily at the time and the speed that a small business like ours wants them to do it.
No, I know that story well. So, in terms of
that doesn't mean we're not in the right place.
No, of course, exactly. In terms of moves happening elsewhere in the industry, we've had one investor asking how ARCTIS is affected by the recent $2 billion cloud infrastructure agreement between AWS and the Australian government, and that agreement is to provide top secret cloud computing. And the question is, does ARCTIS have insight and scope into the potential for getting contracts within that deal?
Yeah, look. This announcement is just come out recently. Now, I think that people need to understand what the announcement actually means. There's $2 billion that is being spent out of the Red Spice program, which was a $9 billion budget initiative under Dutton for increasing Australian Signals Directorate's capability. $2 billion of that is now being spent on the AWS top secret cloud, which is what the announcement was. It is going to. The first thing you need to understand about top secret is it's top secret. They don't want anyone talking about it, and outside of that announcement, you probably won't hear about it again. So that's the first thing that you need to understand. The second thing you need to understand is that delivery of that is by 2027. What that money is going to be initially spent on is the infrastructure being built. And when I say infrastructure, I'm not talking technical. I'm talking data, warehouses, sites, security around that. Then they're going to put in the technical infrastructure, servers, clouds, capabilities. And after 2027, it's about moving and migrating capabilities onto that for the top secret communities to be able to interact and use that to open that data intelligence sharing capability across the whole of government. Now, that's the intention. Now, what I can't say any more than that, but what I can say is we obviously already work in the TS space. We have products, we have clients, and that's all I can say. So do we think there's genuine opportunities for us in that? Obviously we do. But I can't really talk about anything more or less than that. And to be honest, we don't know yet, because it's just like everybody else in the market. We found out about this when you found out about this, and they keep these things pretty close to the chest.
Well, it sounds like you're well placed there. So just a bit of a technical question that's come in. When NC Protect is implemented by a company, can ArcTIS actually access that information that's seemingly protected by the company implementing the product, or is ArcTIS a third person authority in that system?
No. So the whole point about trust is the information custodian sets the terms and conditions about who and how people can access their information. Just because we own the product does not mean we should be able to access that. So another example of that is Cogency as a cloud service. We broker everything, but we do not have access to their information unless they provide it to us. So, and that's how it should be, because that's where the zero trust factor comes into it. So we can help with the product, we can help with the implementation of the product, we can help with how they write the rules and the policies for the product, but we do not have access to the data, no.
Yeah, gotcha. So you're obviously sketching out a particular view of the world in terms of how the macro and geopolitical environment might provide opportunities. And the comment that's been made by one investor is that the defence opportunity does sound massive. But can you talk to ArcTIS's plans for growth if defence has to defer projects and deals due to allocating more funds to military and missiles?
Absolutely. So defence, the biggest problem that defence has got right now is how does it get decision-making superiority? So where do I aim and shoot those missiles, and when and how and under what terms and conditions? That's still a data problem. So the more that they buy in that space is as they go for this integrated defence capability, or what they call joint forces, and then also how do they then join those forces, army, air, space, sea, with coalitions and share that data across, is still a military problem. And that military expenditure there is massive. In fact, it's much, much greater than the information or the ICT expenditure for defence. So we don't think that it's an either or, and some things will get delayed, but whatever goes ahead, we'll still need to solve that problem. So there is money there. So I'm not too concerned about that. I think the real question there is, how much of that do you need to secure before you start expanding into other verticals? And for us, so a good example of that is, SAP uses that across defense companies globally in different countries. So in Canada, in Germany, here in Australia. And what we are seeing there is that network of growth where the companies that they share information with are now starting to buy licenses as well. So our defense industry supply chain is really where is our first foray into other verticals and into other manufacturing areas. And then we see that there are other advantages. I mean, we already have other clients which are not defence clients, and we know that we can sell there. But what we need to be able to do is make sure that we manage that growth sustainably and not go out on a spending spree or on a hope. So let's take what we do successfully, let's replicate it, and then let's test other verticals.
Well, it's probably a good lead into another question, just on the balance sheet front. So, given the shape of your balance sheet and the cash balance, and having consumed a little bit of cash in the last few quarters, I think maybe you mentioned earlier in the presentation that you are expecting to generate cash in the current, or in the quarter just gone. I'll have to get you to confirm that though. But how do you plan to fund expansion and further revenue growth from here?
Well, I think the best way of always doing that is closing sales. Let's be blunt. The more sales you close, the more cash you get in. The more cash you get in, the less cash problem you have. You can fund your own growth. And our growth has been specifically through channel partners, and that, as I said, and through references from business to business. Now, if we secure what we think we're going to secure, we won't have a cash problem. If we close the business opportunities, the only variable there is timing. But for us, we think we're still in a strong enough position that we won't need to really look at additional funding unless it is for We now feel that we're on that projection that we expected to be on in terms of hypergrowth, and we are investing in hypergrowth, which is repeatable growth, not new exploring for new opportunities or new markets or anything like that, because that sort of expenditure is a different type of expenditure. What I'm looking to do is accelerate through a repeatable process, repeatable business requirements, repeatable business demand, and network growth effect. So really, that's the challenge for us.
Excellent. Sounds good, Daniel. We'll draw things to a close there. And on behalf of the company, I'd really like to thank everyone for tuning in to the NWR Security Technology Conference today. We really appreciate everyone joining and for your continued interest in ARCTIS. If you do have a question that we didn't get to today, please reach out and management will be happy to discuss further offline. We will also make the video recording of this session available online at the NWR YouTube channel. Really looking forward to the opportunity to talk to you all again. And Daniel, I might pass across to you now for any closing comments.
No, look, thanks everybody for their interest, current shareholders for their support. And look, I'm really excited about the next 18 months, and I think it's going to be a story that people should be following.
Likewise. Good stuff. Thanks, Daniel. Thanks, everyone. Chat to you soon.
Bye-bye.